industry stakeholders, cybersecurity, AI professionals, esteemed guests, tech enthusiasts, ladies and gentlemen, both online and here. It's an honor to stand before you at this edition of this quite clearly impactful gathering. With great pleasure, I welcome you all, online attendees and participants, to this hybrid event. I want to extend my gratitude for your presence, particularly as we come together to reflect on the growing intersection between AI and cybersecurity measures in safeguarding data and shaping the future of technology in Africa and beyond. This year's theme, Data Security in the Age of AI, is a reflection of the reality we can no longer ignore. Just as I said, I mean, um, one of my staff was talking to me 2 days ago, and she was sad. So I was asking her what happened. She was duped 200,000. I mean, if you are a Yoruba and you grew up in Lagos, you probably understand where you are just going, somebody calls you or touches you, and then you forget everything. This one, they didn't touch her. Somebody just called her on the phone. And you would have thought that it's only the super rich that are vulnerable. Each and every one of us potentially. I mean, me, somebody duped me the same 200,000 2 years ago. The person broke into the WhatsApp of my brother-in-law and just chatted me on a Monday. I said, "Hey guy, please, I need 200,000." My brother-in-law's WhatsApp is in Canada, married to my sister, and then I transferred the 200,000. And then the guy chatted me again and said, "So, I need additional 300,000." So I told him that in this account, I only have 170K. He said, "Okay, okay, transfer 100." So as I was transferring the 100, somebody was calling me and not allowing me. You know when calls enter your GTB app? One of my friends. So I was cutting. He was calling me. I was cutting. And then when I picked, he said, "I hope you have not transferred money." I said, "I have." He said, "No, no, no. This guy is a dude." You know how vulnerable we all are because we're in the world of digital where each and every one of us are potentially vulnerable. So as we journey into this critical discussion, let us run through Nigeria's historical, technological, and contextual realities to better understand the opportunities and challenges. And I say this because of some of the young people in our midst. I'm sure you're going to think this is how Nigeria has always been. I promise you, no. There was a time where if you had someone in Ibadan and you would like to see them, you either travel 3 hours or so, or you write them letters. On Muritala Mohammed, which is just very close to this place, there's a particular bus stop just before you get to Imbo. It used to be called Post Office. I remembered very clearly where I used to go and buy stamp and write letters and post. There was a time where digital was only in the dreams. So that was a time where we didn't have problems about data security, cyber security, and all that. But we're in a world where even my daughter, I'm using a tablet. My daughter is 5 years old. She has a tablet. She has an email. So my daughter is vulnerable. My family is vulnerable. I am vulnerable. And so we have to ask ourselves, how did we get to this point where we have become digital natives, where everybody has a phone, everybody has an email? I'll tell some stories. So let me take you back to the 90s when Nigeria's technological infrastructure was super fragmented. It was an era where banks operated in silos. There were 89 banks in Nigeria, 89 banks, and all of these banks were disconnected financial institutions. Things were so bad then that if you bank with a bank in Lagos, even in Yaba, and you wanted to collect, if you travel to Ikeja and you want to collect money, if the branch of that bank is not there, you will travel back to come and collect money. Okay, that's not bad. Guess what? There was a time in Nigeria that if you wanted to collect money in a bank, you will plan to go to the bank and get to the bank at 6 a.m. and collect something we used to call tally number. It's beautiful to be young. Nigeria was one time, some will say, a jungle. To withdraw money from your account in Lagos, you had to be physically present in Lagos, even if you were in Kano. That's how rough it was. At government agencies like the FRSC and immigration, citizens stood in endless queues. I remember when I was paying for my diploma in 1999, I stood about 3 or 4 hours in UBA in Oyinbo, 4 hours just to pay because you have to go early. In fact, what our parents used to do is that our parents will send us to go and line up for them because your parents are older now. So you will just be lining up and be moving and be moving. And so when it is closed, your mom will now come and take over. Imagine that life. The disaggregation reflected a broader issue. Nigeria lacked the technological cohesion to optimize infrastructure and secure data. The absence of connectivity was an inconvenience and glaring vulnerability. In that analog world that I talked about, safeguarding information was a Herculean task. So, what used to happen is that if there was a corruption in government house, guess what they used to do? Sabotage. They'll just come in the wicked and set off fire. So when they want to probe them, if somebody stole money, because all the records were on physical ledgers, on books. If somebody stole money and if they are bringing the EFCC, I mean, the EFCC didn't exist until about 2003. But before then, if somebody stole money and they want to catch him, the guy will just set fire over the weekend. He'll say, government office has burned. It was crazy. The beautiful thing was that with democracy in 99, there was a pivotal turn in Nigeria's journey towards digitization. First was the banking consolidation exercise of 2003. It became a watershed moment. From 89 banks, they were collapsed into 25. They were forced to digitize their operations. We had First Bank had about 700 branches. Access had about 300 branches. GT Bank had about 500 branches. UBA 500 branches. So the banks expanded, and the only way to manage that expansion was to connect digitally. This was about 22 years ago. This transformation extended beyond the banking. Under former President Olusegun Obasanjo, the government started deploying e-government initiatives, digitizing operations of customs, immigration. Data was collected and managed digitally for the first time, enabling Nigeria to access services through electronic channels. Our journey towards digitization. So Nigeria's digital transformation began quietly in the 90s. I remembered I got into secondary school in 1991 now, which is about 34 years ago. It was rough. I schooled up north in Jos. Then it took about 3 days to travel to Jos, which is just about 9, 10 hours now. By air flight is an hour. And all the money that I needed to be given to us at the beginning of the term. On one unfortunate day, I entered train from the train station down there. The train took about 3 days. All my school fees, no, my school fees was paid in something like check. We used to call it bank draft, I think. Bank draft. But all my, I don't know what they call it now, all the money that my parents gave me was in my bag. So in the train, I sat down with my elder sister, who unfortunately passed on. And then I was playing with her, and by mistake, I raised my hand. And while we were going on the train, all my money flew out of the train. We had gone the journey more than a day. I can't even call my mom and tell her that the money has been missing. We had to continue the journey to Jos for another 2 days. We now had to go to NEPA. My mom used to work in what is now called PHCN. We used to call it NEPA. They had to send a radio report that your son doesn't know what to do. It was chaotic. If your family died, you may not even know for days. You may not know for weeks. And so it was really dangerous time. But in the mid 2000s, life began to change. Besides using PCs in the 90s, we started importing laptops. I was sharing just last week how the biggest vision I had in 2006 was to buy a laptop. There was a Pentium 2 laptop for 40,000 I couldn't afford because I mean my salary then was 7,000, and if you had a laptop, you were not considered a Yahoo boy. Then you were considered going somewhere. I couldn't even afford it. But certainly in the 2000s, laptops emerged, and then around 2010, tablets. I told you this tablet is my daughter's. In the 2010 period, financial institutions they led the charge, transforming from manual ledgers to digital systems. Educational institutions followed suit. They incorporated computer literacy into their curriculum. The current expansion of GSM networks amplified the changes. Thank God for that policy shift in 2000 that brought GSM. All these phones that we have came in August 2001. I can't forget because it took me about 2 years to get my first phone. But from that month, August 2001, I think that's the most significant year in the evolution of digital development in Nigeria. As digital innovation accelerated, no, I was going to talk about smartphones someday. The rise of smartphones marked a watershed moment in Nigeria's digital journey. Of course, social media platforms, they form simple communication tools into reliable vehicles for social change, business growth, and cultural expression. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram became integral to our daily lives. I mean, I don't know if everybody remembered, but just 5 years ago here in 2020, we remember what happened in October 2020, October 20 in particular. NSAS. But that NSAS campaign, frankly, started on social media. So with mobile phones and social media, social change was easier and faster. People could hold government to account. In fact, it was so bad that people were holding government to account so much that government had to shut down Twitter. I mean, Twitter was not the only social media then. There was Facebook. But there was so much aggressive demand for accountability that government shut down a social media. Interesting times. The progression from basic desktop computing to AI driven system now represents more than simple technological advancement. It reflects a fundamental shift, particularly in the Nigerian society. While these innovations have created unprecedented opportunities, they've also introduced complexities about data security and digital sovereignty, particularly in an increasingly connected world. So today, we study online. We keep our money online. Okay, we our biggest asset. I mean, some of these young people, their asset is not even in money; it's in cryptos, it's in NFTs. So the value in their life is. I mean, I went to St. Saviour's School. St. Saviour's School is in one of those very close to this place. And one of the parents was speaking that day, and she said, "Our biggest concern is that our kids pay attention to their virtual friends than their physical friends." Young people here, I'm sure you understand. My son plays PS5 at home. My son is concerned about his friend. What's this game that kids play? Roblox, I think. He'll be telling me he has 150 friends on Roblox. I don't even know if those friends are real. But that's the world we're in. People trust more their virtual friends than their actual friends. People will take pictures and they'll be checking how many likes do I have. People who don't know you, people who might never meet you, people's self-esteem, people's meaning about life is all now in the virtual. And so there is more at risk now for each and every one of us. Do you know that people are committing suicide from just online rejection? Are you aware of that? And so we're at risk, each and every one of us, the young, the whole, institutions, infrastructure. So the question is, how do we secure data in this world where the potential friend and enemy is not just a person? It could just be an AI bot. How do we secure it? While digitization has brought undeniable opportunities, convenience, efficiency, access, it's also exposed us to significant risk. The more we rely on technology, the more data we generate. In 2010, the Time magazine splashed on their headline is more valuable than oil. My people, today we call data the dust. You know why? Everything we do generates data. Everything. You know how dust is everywhere? That's data. Just as you are here right now, if you have a phone, if you just log in, that's data. If you took a picture, if you clipped a video, if you chatted your mom, if you called your friend, if you just looked at TikTok, you know, I call TikTok the daughter of the devil. TikTok is so crazy that the algorithm on TikTok almost knows what you're thinking. Are you aware of that? TikTok, why I say it's the daughter of the devil is that you can plan. I'm just going to TikTok for 5 minutes. After 2 hours, you have still not realized that you are there for 2 hours. That's TikTok. TikTok does not just know the video you liked last week, it knows the one you are going to like tomorrow. So it will show you. And then it shows you. Now, imagine how vulnerable we all are. People think that it was for kids. I think that the biggest age transformation I've seen on social media is on TikTok. Because you'll see grandma dancing. Everybody is looking for attention, which is the goal of our world. So the question is, how still do we secure our data? In 2018, the European Union implemented the benchmark for data privacy all over the world. It's called GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, setting a global standard for data privacy. Interestingly, just about 12 months later, I remembered vividly. GDPR was launched in May 2018. I think in May 2019, Nigeria released its own NDPR. These regulations sought to safeguard data privacy and security in an increasingly digital world. Like I said, digital is now our world. How do we safeguard? However, the risk environment has grown dramatically. In 2018 and 2019, many of us were still on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, I'm not sure there's any young person on Facebook anymore. I remember when Facebook just came out, parents used to tell their children, you had better face your book instead of going to Facebook. Well, the children are not on Facebook anymore. They're on Snapchat, they're on a few other funny places they are on. So the world and the digital environment is different. Okay. The regulations, I mean GDPR, NDPR, they sought to safeguard data privacy in an increasingly digital world. As our digital footprint expanded, so did the attack by bad actors. Previously, bad actors operated physically to perpetrate crimes. So before, I mean, guys, let me tell you, in the 90s, Nigeria was a different place. So the biggest criminals in the 90s in Nigeria were guys who were called kidnappers and guys who were called armed robbers. I mean, for anybody who is my age, they will remember there was a guy who was notorious in Nigeria. We used to call him Shinorambo. Who remembers him? So the baddest guys in Nigeria were actual person. In fact, Shinorambo, you know, how can you know Shinorambo, my brother? Shinorambo, you know to this man. You are looking too young, you know, but you are not young. If you know Anini, you pass me. Guys, the bad actors were known. Some women actually liked them. They were dating many women. They were thieves and armed robbers because they went around with guns. On Ikorodu Road, when Anini Rambo was going, they went in convoys. People will leave the road for them. Today, the worst criminals are unknown. You don't even know their name. Guys, in the future, the worst criminals might not even be a human being. Think about that. The guy who is hurting you the most, stealing your future, robbing Nigeria of our future may not even be a person. It might be an AI bot that was created by in North Korea. How do you create protections against crazy guys like that you don't know? How do you? So I was talking about this recently. Just recently, Chinese AI startup, this DeepSeek, this was just over the weekend, last weekend, 1 week. They announced limiting new registration following a massive cyber attack, coinciding with a surge in the demand for their AI assistant. According to DeepSeek, their V3 model uses less data at a significantly lower cost than their competitors. Thus, it appears that the only way saboteurs can clamp down is by cyber attacking it. I'll give you an idea. Before, it used to be that if you have an idea, people will want to befriend you or attack you. These people usually we know them as friends or we call them village people. I'm sure you hear when you get into a problem, they say village people. Imagine when all the people in your village were just 2,000. Imagine billions of people all over the world who can build billions of AI bots that could actually work even more deviously than your village people. Just think about that world that is more vulnerable than those village people. Let's pause to consider and imagine complexity called synthetic data. Just 2 weeks ago, Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter, says the AI world has run out of data. That's amazing. I just told data, digital, digital what? Data is everywhere. But Elon Musk just 2 weeks ago said the world has run out of actual data. That actual foundational models have been trained with all the data available. So the data that is being created now is called synthetic data. You know what that means? It's data created by AI. The direct implication of that is that what you think is truth may not be. What the internet, what AI, what data you think you are referencing may not exist. Just last week, I was trying to get my son on DeepSeek, and my son checked out himself. So when he checked, his name is Arka, ARK. So my son was asking DeepSeek, so who is Arka? Okay. My son was asking who is Arka, and I hope you guys are familiar with what is called hallucination. The AI was just hallucinating and telling him trash. That's the world we're in, guys, where the data, what you think to be true, is not true. So the question is, who owns synthetic data? As to with secure information that hasn't even been created. How do you secure it? How do you secure the future? Real crazy. But my time is about done. So back to where we left. In 2024, Can you guys remember the biggest fraud that happened in one of the largest banks in Nigeria? What we're seeing now is that the risk is not just about AI, it's AI infusion with man. So there are leading trends in data security. I'm moving faster now. AI driven threat detection, zero trust architecture, federated learning for privacy, AI powered inside threat monitoring. And this is big, particularly in the banks, where before it used to be that armed robbers would just come and rob. Because we're all dependent on digital now, even the staff themselves can be the armed robbers. They just don't need to carry gun. They know where the vulnerabilities are. Regulatory alignment and compliance automation. I'm sure we all know about ransomware. Okay. And the last one, human AI collaboration. So let's talk quickly about data and the AI intersection, and then I'll bring this to a close. Okay. AI and data security are locked in a complex dance. For Nigerians, this is not just theoretical, it's personal. Our digital footprint grows daily. From the NIN, I mean, I hope everybody has NIN here. From the NIN biometric data, okay, to all of the other things that are requested by the banks like BVN, our lives are dependent on digital infrastructure. In just 2024, there was a major breach where the minister of digital economy, his digital data was sold for 100 naira online. Do you know what that NIN details contains? It contains your name, it contains your age, it contains your home address. Frankly, it contains the basic information that allows anyone to access your banking record. So imagine if your digital identity can be sold for 100 naira. AI plays both hero and villain in this story. It can help to detect and block cybersecurity, but it can also give criminals new arms for them to attack us. The same technology that flags suspicion can also generate convincing phishing scams. There's a whole lot here, and I'm happy to share it. So, what do we need to do to strengthen data privacy with AI? The first one is identity authentication. Before it used to be national identity. Now we have that. We need to be able to authenticate it. The second one is to further secure financial transactions, particularly at the banks where all of us remain vulnerable. Older people, my mom went to the bank in the same area and just asked the what's it called, the somebody there to help her use her ATM, and almost 600,000 was taken. She was just crying. That old woman. We need to increase protection on data infrastructure from the government. We need cross-agency data sharing. Of course, there's a need for more public education and awareness. So, as I conclude, remember this: Nigeria's journey from disconnected system to digital integration wasn't just technology, it was about trust. And it's not just about trust, it's about people. Today, AI reshapes our digital identity as a nation. We must build on that trust by ensuring our data remains secure. Our collective responsibility is to leverage this technology to protect the very fabric of our society, which is our data. Let us commit to proactive measures, continuous innovation, and a shared vision of a secure digital future for Nigeria and Africa. To conclude, again, I want to thank the organizers of this edition of the Cybersecurity AI Summit for putting up a discussion like this to stir the narratives. I mean, I'm sure we'll have even more engaging conversation later. I also want to appreciate all the critical stakeholders from within and outside the country who are going to be presenting or have presented in today's summit. Thank you all for attention. I look forward to an engaging discussion. Thank you very much. God bless you.